This always happens. Every single time I take a couple of days off to spend time with family, something happens in this community, and the something this time is that DMA has decided to sue Frauditor Troll for copyright infringement. Now, we are going to be going through the complaint. I have read it in its entirety, and I have a couple of things that I want to talk about. First and foremost, though, thank you to all of my channel members and subscribers. If you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I would most certainly appreciate it. But for now, let's go ahead and get into this. So, the introduction. This case arises from the unauthorized use of a copyrighted video titled "Another Chad Exposed, Worthless Denver Cops Assaulted," created and published by plaintiff on his YouTube channel, Denver Metro Audits. This video captures a real-time confrontation between plaintiff, members of the Denver Police Department, and a third-party bystander. It was filmed and released to expose potential police misconduct and promote public accountability. Now, I have not seen the original video. I watch very, very few of DMA's videos, and I know I have not seen this one. I probably will at some point in time. Defendant, a YouTube content creator operating under the alias Frauditor Troll, republished more than half of the plaintiff's original video, over 27 minutes of expressive footage under the guise of critique, while contributing only a few minutes of sarcastic narration. The result is not commentary. It is theft, dressed in mockery, and monetized through ad revenue. Now, here's the issue I have with this specific part. So, a couple of things. They don't get to decide what is or is not commentary. They don't get to decide what is or is not criticism, even if they don't agree with it. They don't get to say, well, this isn't commentary because I say so. They have an issue with the length of the commentary in relation to the totality of the video. But even if it's short commentary, it's still commentary. So there's a little bit of a disconnect between this complaint and the live that I watched on DMA's channel earlier. Now, again, I haven't seen this original video, but on the live, I very specifically remember they were talking about how Frauditor Troll was saying that DMA needed to back up away from the police at one point in the video. That is commentary. That is criticism of a behavior that is happening in the video. To have the conversation about that comment on the live stream and then to come here and say it's not commentary it's beyond silly, if you ask me. 3, this kind of deliberate parasitic infringement is exactly what the Copyright Act was meant to prevent. The infringing video, capital letters, even though they aren't proper nouns, so I don't know why they're capitalized. Buries the original under ridicule, substitutes it in the market. We're coming back to that. And turns plaintiff's message of accountability into a punchline. Plaintiff brings this action to stop the misuse, restore control over his work, and recover damages, costs, and attorney's fees as permitted by law. So substitutes it in the market. I'm going to have to disagree there. And this is not a legal opinion. This is an opinion based on someone who knows YouTube analytics, who knows the algorithm, and knows the audiences. DMA and Frauditor Troll do not share an audience. If they were cable TV channels, they would be the Sci-Fi Network and the Home Shopping Network. You are not really going to have someone who's going to watch both. I mean, you might have someone who likes to shop and watch B-grade horror movies. I don't know. But the point still stands. As far as YouTube is concerned, the people who watch Frauditor Troll's channel, the overwhelming majority of them are never going to go to DMA's channel and watch his videos. Even if Frauditor Troll didn't exist, even if any of the channels that criticize auditors didn't exist, they are not going to go watch the auditors because they cannot stand them. And vice versa. The people who watch DMA's channel are not going to watch Frauditor Troll. If DMA didn't exist, they're still not going to go watch Frauditor Troll. They have two completely separate audiences. It may be the same platform, but it is not the same audience. So as far as the damage they're alleging, they are saying that Frauditor Troll replaced DMA's video in the market, right? And that if Frauditor Troll hadn't made his video, then DMA's video would have had much higher views. But the actual facts don't support that. If you look at the videos from that time period for DMA, he got 66,000 views on that video. That is right in line and pretty consistent with all of his other videos of the time. He has a one-off there that is a 557,000 view video that probably got caught up in the algorithm and just took off. The rest of them are going to be his consistent views. So if you look, 47,000, 42,000, 15,000, 66,000, 39,000, 54,000, 87,000. 66,000 is right in line and a little bit on the higher end of the kind of views that he was getting at the time. Frauditor Troll didn't take his views. They are two completely separate audiences. If Frauditor Troll was taking the views from DMA, you would expect to see that this video had a lower view count than other videos of the time. I think one of the biggest things that has prompted this lawsuit is DMA is under the impression that he's shadow banned. He has been for a while. And that just isn't what's happening. What we are seeing with DMA's channel and a lot of the older, larger auditor channels is they are just dying organic deaths. And what I mean by that is as interest in the genre fades, the fewer people that are clicking on this kind of content, the fewer people that are going to get recommended this kind of content. If it was just one channel, you could make an argument for shadow banning, but it isn't. It is a multitude of channels that are experiencing the exact same thing. The next couple of sections we are going to skip through quickly, as it is jurisdiction and parties. Now, the only thing I have to say about jurisdiction is I did see some questions about the jurisdiction. Why is it in this specific judicial district? And that is because when you file a counter notification to a copyright strike, you are agreeing to that jurisdiction. That is where YouTube is located. That is where the jurisdiction that you are agreeing to is. Now, as far as parties are concerned, obviously we have DMA and Frauditor Troll. They are still not sure whether or not they have Frauditor Troll's real identity. So we are going to have to wait and see how that goes. Okay, so now we get into the factual allegations. And some of this I just find absolutely ridiculous. So YouTube is the largest video sharing platform in the world and operates under the framework established by the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. The DMCA provides a process by which copyright owners may request the removal of infringing content through a notice and takedown mechanism. If the platform receives a valid takedown notice, it typically disables access to the allegedly infringing material. However, the DMCA also allows the alleged infringer to submit a counter notification claiming that the use is authorized, lawful, and otherwise non-infringing. If the copyright owner does not initiate a federal lawsuit within 14 days of receiving a counter notification, YouTube is required by law to restore access to the disputed content pursuant 17 U.S.C. 512G. So to put it very simply, YouTube is very much a neutral third party when it comes to copyright disputes between creators. They don't really involve themselves outside of what the DMCA allows them to do. So what that means is they will take the copyright complaints, they will make sure that those are valid, they will forward the counter notifications, they make sure those are valid, and outside of a rare exception, they really aren't going to take a look at the content and make a decision and say, yes, that is fair use. And the reason is because that is for the court to decide. As we get further into the factual allegations, this is where we are going to run into some of the things that I find outright silly in some cases and just very whiny and entitled in others. This statutory framework places the burden on copyright owners, particularly independent creators and small publishers, to enforce their rights through litigation. No duh, because that's the law. It isn't just independent creators and small publishers, it's literally everyone, because it's the law. Critically, under 17 U.S.C. 411A, a copyright registration or refusal thereof is a prerequisite to filing a lawsuit. As a result, creators who publish content regularly, such as daily or weekly videos, face substantial logistical and financial obstacles in registering each work. The process is time-consuming, costly, and impractical for many small creators who are left with no legal recourse, even when their work is stolen wholesale. Yes, you absolutely have a fucking choice. And the reason you have a choice, because if you have a functioning brain, you are the one making the decision to film a daily video or a weekly video and not register the copyright. There has to be a moment when a light bulb has to go off and you have to say, oh, wait, I should probably take accountability for my own actions. I am making this choice not to register the copyright, knowing what the consequences can be. And this goes for myself as well. I will never register a copyright on any of my videos. I know what the consequences are, and I am making that choice. I know of multiple people who have used my videos, including Rogue Nation. I don't care. I will never care. Now, apparently DMA does, but I think this has a lot more to do with the fact that him and Frauditor Troll have a whole back and forth thing that has been going on for quite a while. I feel like that's a completely separate issue, but it definitely did influence this decision. But saying things like, the process is time-consuming and costly and impractical for many small creators is completely irrelevant. 100% irrelevant. You are still making the decision. You are still making the decision to publish that work without registering the copyright, knowing what the consequences may be, especially if you file a copyright strike, knowing that you cannot take it any farther because of a decision that you made. Take some accountability for yourself. Take accountability for your own decisions. That is what an adult does. This comes off as incredibly entitled and whiny. Okay, so these next few are definitely higher up with how ridiculous I find them. I'm going to refer back to a comment that I left on the attorney's page yesterday when I told him, I really just don't think you understand how YouTube works. I told him it wasn't an insult, but he is a little bit of a sensitive Susie, so he took it as such. He may be an excellent attorney. He is apparently the slayer of the happy birthday copyright. No, I'm not kidding. I think that's on his LinkedIn. But being a good attorney doesn't necessarily translate into understanding YouTube, and some of these just scream, I don't know what I'm talking about. For example, infringers like defendant exploit this imbalance by targeting content that is unlikely to be registered at the time of infringement, knowing that most creators lack the time or resources to pursue federal litigation. He makes some pretty wild assumptions here, but he really needs those assumptions to be able to support the allegations in the bullet points that are going to follow. So first off, he's saying that people are targeting content because it's unlikely to be registered at the time of infringement. And I think that's just wrong. I don't think anyone is looking at a video and saying, okay, I'm going to talk about that because it is not registered. I think that is just a fantasy that he has made up in his head. You are fully capable of looking up any copyright in the National Registry. You can check if something is copyrighted if you really want to, or if they've applied for a copyright, you can see that. So saying it's being targeted because it's unlikely to be registered is kind of silly. I know a lot of auditors who make videos and then may not publish it for a month or two. So it's not like they haven't had time to register it. They just are not going to because almost no one registers their YouTube videos, again, myself included. So that statement is just kind of silly. And then a statement of fact saying that people know that most creators lack the time or resources to pursue federal litigation. I don't know. I don't know about you, but I don't know about the finances of any other creator because I don't care, because it's not my business. I am not going to go looking for someone's bank records because I don't care. So I have no idea whether they can or cannot pursue federal litigation. It goes on to say, in practice, it allows monetized YouTube channels. I don't know why he added monetized in there because it is completely irrelevant. You do not need to be monetized to file a copyright strike or a counter notification. So it means absolutely nothing. It allows monetized YouTube channels to exploit copyrighted material by filing counter notifications under the guise of fair use, often requiring the original creator to choose between expensive federal litigation or allowing the infringement to continue unchecked. Yes, it's called following the law. The one thing that he is forgetting to add in there is when you file a counter notification, you are swearing under penalty of perjury that you believe your content to be fair use. Come what may, take me to court. I believe my content to be fair use. That is part of the counter notification. So it isn't under the guise of fair use. It is, I believe my content to be fair use. As much as he is trying to wrap this up into one big dramatic package where small creators can't afford to register their copyright or they can't afford expensive federal litigation, that is completely irrelevant to the fact that this entire process is based around federal law. These are supposed to be allegations based on fact, when what we are actually seeing are a lot of assumptions. In recent years, fair use has become a catch-all defense on YouTube, frequently invoked not to support genuine commentary or critique, but to excuse the wholesale appropriation of others' creative works. Defendant's video is emblematic of that misuse. It offers no new message, no additional insight, no transformation of purpose. Instead, it repackages plaintiff's footage with sporadic ridicule, relying on the original's expressive content to attract viewers and monetize attention. I can tell you for 100% certainty, people are not watching Frauditor Troll's video because they like the way that DMA makes videos. They are not watching that video because they want to see what DMA has done in the video. They are watching because they disagree with DMA's message. and they agree with Frauditor Troll's message. They are not watching that content because of DMA. Just like if DMA were to make a video on Frauditor Troll, the people who are going to be watching it are not people who are watching for Frauditor Troll. They are two completely separate audiences. They are not watching for the original content. They are watching for the commentary. They are watching for the ridicule. They are watching for the entertainment. Once again, we see that he's reiterating there's no additional insight, no new message, no transformation of purpose. Yet on that live stream, they specifically talked about Frauditor Troll saying that DMA needed to back up. So while there might not be the amount of insight or the amount of new message that they feel like is fair use, it's still commentary based on the behaviors within the video, and to say that there is none is just false. This next section had to have been written by ChatGPT. I would put money on it being written by ChatGPT because no one could have written this with a straight face. There's no way. The First Amendment auditor community on YouTube consists of independent content creators who film interactions with government officials in public spaces to promote transparency and assert constitutional rights, primarily the First Amendment. These creators act as citizen journalists, watchdogs, and public advocates, documenting real-time government conduct and holding public officials accountable through video. I have to wonder if he has ever seen a bank audit, or a fast food joint, or a mental health facility, or a daycare. I've actually seen a couple outside of people's homes lately. Government accountability, my ass. There might be a couple whose hearts are in the right places, but that is most certainly not the majority. The movement has grown into a powerful and controversial force on social media. First Amendment auditors regularly publish their videos to YouTube channels where they have collectively attracted millions of subscribers and billions of views. How many of those are dead subscribers? These creators often operate under channel names or aliases and have become recognizable figures in the digital civil rights ecosystem. Right. It goes on to say, plaintiff is one such creator. He operates the YouTube channel Denver Metro Audits, which has over 231,000 subscribers and more than 600 videos. Plaintiff's work has generated millions of views and frequent engagement from the public on issues of constitutional importance. Now, that being said, if you have a channel with 231,000 subscribers, how many views would you expect on a pretty significant video? Say the announcement video of a lawsuit. You would think that you would have quite a few views if all of those 231,000 subscribers were actually active on your channel. This video has 8,600 views since it was released. Now back to what we were talking about earlier, how DMA thinks he is shadow banned. If I have a creator that I enjoy watching, if I have a creator I really like watching, and I haven't seen them in a while, I will go looking for them. I will search them up, and I'll go watch their videos. If I'm not getting notifications, I will go to that creator's channel and check. Someone with 231,000 subscribers should not be getting 8,600 views on a video. And the reason he is because this is not a powerful force on the internet. This is a dying genre on YouTube. He goes on to add other prominent First Amendment auditors on YouTube, like James Freeman, James Freeman is really not an auditor. He is just a troll who is just completely anti-government. He doesn't really care about government accountability. He's just anti-government. And in fact, the last video of his I watched was him actively wishing death on the officers in the video. And then he adds delete laws in here. Are you kidding me? This is monumentally embarrassing that he added Chili de Castro into this list.
I hope you burn in hell. I hope you burn in hell, and I hope your kids get bone cancer. I think you're horrible. You're horrible people. You're just disgusting. There's no other way to see it. You know, you're bad people. You back up someone who's a bad person, a genuinely bad person. So I wish you the worst. That's all. That's all. I wish you the absolute worst. I hope you burn in hell. I hope your family does. I have no respect for any of you. You guys who gave this chick money, just disgusting. Just disgusting. Just ugh.
These creators have developed passionate communities and brought increased attention to the issues of public transparency, police accountability, and constitutional rights. He should really talk to Craig Hendry and Lane Myers about those passionate communities and what happens when YouTube creators brigade their audiences into harassing and contacting people that they don't agree with. Lane Myers just pled guilty and is going to serve time in prison, in part because of his passionate community. They also attract vocal critics, including content creators who republish auditor footage for the purpose of mockery or monetized ridicule. That last part is just silly. I'll mock you for free, it's fine. The so-called anti-auditor or frauditor community is a genre of YouTube content creators who produce reaction-style videos targeting First Amendment auditors. While these channels purport to offer criticism or commentary, their actual content typically consists of mockery, personal insults, and superficial narration designed to provoke laughter, not to engage with the substance of the original videos. The emphasis is not on analysis or critique, but on ridicule with little to no transformative insight. Rather than analyzing the substance of the auditor videos, anti-auditor creators download the original work, embed it wholesale or in large portions, and insert snide commentary, exaggerated voiceovers, memes, sound effects, and sarcastic narration. Now, I'm going to speak for my channel, only because he mentions me. We're going to get there in a second, but he actually mentions me here in this complaint. I can tell you personal opinion, I find this blanket description that was very obviously not researched to be a little bit ignorant, especially in a legal complaint. Now, I know from my channel, I've only been around a year, so my videos have evolved considerably over the course of the past year. They are very, very different from when I started out. But every single one of my videos is researched. Every single one of my videos engages with whatever content that I happen to be talking about that day, if I am using a video at all. The next statement is, these editions rarely engage with the message or journalistic value of the underlying footage. Please, I would love to know, what is the journalistic value of a group of thugs beating up an old man at a post office? I would love to know. What is the journalistic value of a child predator wandering around a rec center? A convicted child predator. I would love to know. I love the feedback on that one. Instead, they focus on the auditors themselves, mocking their voices, mannerisms, appearance, perceived emotional state, and personal lives. What do you think the auditors are doing when in every single thumbnail known to man, they are calling the men and women who work in public service Karens or Darrens? Do you not think they are mocking people? Do you think they are angels? Or does ChatGPT think they're angels? I'm still not convinced a human wrote this because it is that ignorant. Prominent anti-auditor channels include Frauditor Troll, Team Skeptic, Degeneration Nation, Lucid's Lair, Unclean Hands, KFAR Reacts, First Amendment Shenanigans, Blackheart Knight, and others. Many of these channels feature monetization through YouTube ads, memberships, merchandise, and affiliate links. One of the reasons I really don't think this was written by a human is they mention KFAR. KFAR rarely makes videos on auditors. Very, very rarely. He talks a lot more about sovereign citizens than he does auditors. In fact, I can't really remember the last auditor video that I have seen from KFAR. So either someone wrote this who is just really, really bad at research, or this was written by ChatGPT. Their business model is simple: republish auditor videos, add minimal ridicule, and generate revenue. Originality is neither required nor provided. The underlying auditor footage does the heavy lifting in terms of content and audience engagement. You know what? Let me know in the comments section. How many of you listening watch these videos to engage with the auditor? How many of you out there watch these videos to see your favorite auditor? I really want to know. Okay, we're going to try and speed this up because this video was already much longer than I was planning on. Defendant's channel Frauditor Troll is emblematic of this practice. With nearly 1,900 uploads, the channel systematically mines the auditor community for content, providing only brief sarcastic commentary in return. These are not transformative works, they are derivative broadcasts riding on the back of other creators' labor. This exploitative model thrives because most auditor videos are not registered with the U.S. Copyright Office at the time of publication. Without a registration, the original creator cannot sue, and anti-auditor channels know this. They use the DMCA counter notice process to delay enforcement and bet that creators won't be able to respond within the 14-day window. Or try this on for size. They are filing counter notifications because they actually believe their videos are being made under fair use. Okay, even though it has only been a second for you guys, it's actually the next day for me. I didn't get a chance to finish the video last night like I was planning on, but I'm telling you this to let you know I did get a chance to watch Frauditor Troll and DMA's videos, and I've got a couple of things to say about it. So, first off, I believe that DMA and his attorney chose this video very strategically. Obviously, Frauditor Troll has, I don't even know how many videos on DMA. So why choose this one? It's several years old at this point. Obviously, there are probably many newer videos that he has filed copyright strikes and have been restored. So why choose this one? I think it was strategically chosen because it is a much older representation of the videos that Frauditor Troll puts out. So like we talked about earlier with the evolution of my channel, the videos I started out making are vastly different than what I am making now because channels evolve. The same thing has happened with Frauditor Troll. So this video being 2 or 3 years old, there is a lot less visual transformation. I feel like there's probably less commentary. This is a much older version of what he would put out today. So by choosing the video with the least amount of transformation they could find, they up the chance of success with the lawsuit. Here's the thing with fair use. It isn't a cut and dried kind of thing. It isn't black or white. The only people who can decide what fair use is are the courts. And they're decided on a case-by-case basis for a reason. If fair use was just black and white and simple, we probably wouldn't need the courts. But it's not. When the court goes to determine whether or not this video is fair use, it's going to look at 4 things: the purpose and character of the use, the nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion used, and the effect on the market for the original work. So as far as factor 1, the purpose and character of the use, it's looking to see whether it is non-commercial, educational, or transformative. Transformative is really what is going to be looked at with this video specifically. Did it add a new meaning or message? The nature of the copyrighted work. Factual work like news articles or scientific papers are more likely to be subject to fair use than creative works. And this is something I find rather interesting because if I'm not mistaken, DMA designated his channel as a news channel. So if his video is determined to be news, it might lean a little bit more towards Frauditor Troll's video being fair use. We'll have to see. There's a Supreme Court case from the 80s, Sony versus Universal City Studios, that said copying a news broadcast may have a stronger claim to fair use than copying a motion picture or a creative work. And the question is why? And it's because copying from informational sources such as news encourages the free spread of ideas, encourages the creation of new scientific or educational works, all of which benefit the public. So we hear all the time that these guys are reporters, they are news channels. If this is a news video, I'm just saying, it's a thought. The amount and substantiality of the portion used. So there really isn't a set amount that you can or cannot use when it comes to fair use. General rule, less is more likely to be considered fair use, but it really depends on how much of the work you need to be able to get your point across. So factor 4 is the one that I find most interesting when it comes to this case because I think there is so much to it. And essentially what it is, does the new work replace the old work in the market? Does Frauditor Troll's video deprive DMA's video of clicks and views because people are watching Frauditor Troll's video instead? And I think the answer is unequivocally no. Now, the attorney posted a case that he wanted me to read like it was some kind of gotcha. And it's the Warhol Foundation versus Goldsmith. And essentially what it was, there was a photograph of Prince, and Andy Warhol made an artwork based on that same photograph. But both of them were supposed to be magazine covers. And because the Warhol was not transformative enough, it was decided it wasn't fair use because it affected the market value of the original work. So that makes sense. 2 magazine covers, you're sharing the same market. That isn't necessarily the case when it comes to YouTube channels. The overwhelming majority of Frauditor Troll subscribers are not watching DMA. DMA subscribers are not watching Frauditor Troll. The exceptions are going to be people who go to the creator's channel just to troll the creator, which happens all the time. But the overwhelming majority of these audiences are completely separate. Generally, frauditor troll subscribers are going to be the kind of people that believe that you don't need porn on a library computer available publicly where children can get a hold of it, and DMA subscribers are completely okay with that. The underpinning philosophies of the two channels are complete polar opposites. You really don't have a whole lot of intersection there. And the way that the YouTube algorithm works is you have to interact with some kind of similar content to be recommended a video. So people interacting with DMA's content and DMA's type of content are not going to get recommended Frauditor Troll's video, and vice versa. If Frauditor Troll didn't exist, the people who watched that video would still not go watch DMA. So I believe the markets to be completely separate. It may be the same platform, but I don't believe Frauditor Troll's video affected DMA's view count. That's all I've got for you today, guys. You know what? I stand by what I said. This guy may be an excellent attorney. I know he has been attorney for many years. However, I really don't think he understands YouTube, and the way this complaint is written is almost a love letter to First Amendment auditors versus an actual legal complaint. You know, it may be very well written as far as the case is concerned, but as far as an outside standpoint, it's definitely a little odd. Let's just leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you would like to see, and I will catch you on the next one.